Hey everyone, Jim Yort here. Have you ever woken up one day with the sense that you'd gotten into a rut? That somehow you lost some zest or color in your life or in yourself that you used to have, but you're not sure where you left it? Even if you're a pretty self-aware person, this kind of slow leak can happen over time without you really noticing it. A couple of years ago, I realized that it had happened to me. You see, I was scheduled to give a TEDx talk and I started working with a storytelling coach so I could play around with some different ideas for it. Now, it turns out that talk never happened, but the storytelling prep was absolutely worth it anyway. Here's my coach. Her name is Lynn Ferguson. I'll put a link to her down below. But anyway, the first thing she asked me to do was to tell her a 3-minute story off the cuff about shoes. Now, it's sort of a warm-up exercise and a way of practicing thinking in terms of story, for one thing. So I told her about how, as a child, each new school year meant a new pair of shoes. Now, we weren't well off, so it was basically just that one pair that my mom bought a little big so we could grow into them. And they were nothing fancy. They were the Kmart store brand Trax, kind of like a poor man's Adidas. And I'm not kidding. I just looked it up and they sold for less than 10 bucks. Here they are. They came in different colors, so each year was an opportunity for me to pick what color would be this year's theme. Now, I was partial to these blue ones, but there was a maroonish red and an emerald green. And as I recall, I liked them in about that order. And even though there was a brown, I only picked that one year because it seemed like a boring color. But then some things happened that I've talked about in other videos. My family became homeless. There were substance abuse and mental health problems in my family. There were my own mental health struggles in high school. And what's interesting is that by the time I left high school, I only wore muted colors, mostly grays, blacks, and browns. And not just in shoes, but in clothes and other products too. They matched my internal world, maybe. Now, that storytelling warm-up, which is essentially what I just told you, only took about 3 minutes. But this idea of my drastically changed shoe color preference kept nagging at me. And I was reminded of it every time I saw a guy wearing shoes that weren't brown or black. It seemed like there was something there to be learned. So I kept pondering. I wondered why it was that even though I'd left behind that dark internal world long ago, I'd metabolized it and ultimately used it to help me help other people better, why those muted color preferences largely remained all through adulthood. I mean, I've been living a full color life for a long time now, so I started asking myself, why haven't my shoes kept up? And if they haven't, what else hasn't? Had I lost a part of myself that was more colorful and vibrant? So I thought about how as we move through life, we try on different things for size, thoughts, beliefs, identities, habits, relationships, to survive the circumstances that life throws at us. But our adaptations are meant to serve a purpose, like putting on a pair of galoshes to go out in the rain. It would be weird to still be wearing galoshes when it's sunny, right? Yet sometimes a kid who liked red and blue shoes because they look pretty sweet grows up and ends up walking straight to the black shoes every time without looking up. So now fast forward to a few months ago. A couple pairs of my casual shoes had worn out and I still had all of this on my mind. So you know what I did? I decided to get in touch with that kid inside and take him shopping with me. He hadn't been out shoe shopping in a good 35 or 40 years. And you know what? It seemed like there were a lot more shoes to consider than usual. I didn't just walk straight to the black ones, but I took my time, really considering each pair to see if there was anything that stirred, beneath my usual snap judgments. I was in this big department store and I picked up and looked at lots of shoes with different colors and materials, purple ones, ones that looked like fur, polka dots. Interesting, but no, they didn't really do anything for me. You know what I ended up picking out? These. Pretty sweet, right? Kind of like my old maroon Trax, except they didn't cost $8, unfortunately. And these, too, my good old blue. And I also picked this third pair because, yep, you know what, I really do like black, even though I wasn't crazy about it as a boy. So it turns out that I hadn't actually lost any part of me over the years, not for good anyway. And in fact, I'd even genuinely expanded some. Now, I've written and talked to you guys before about how your personal development journey, if it's the real deal, doesn't have a finish line. That's because while we might think of ourselves as brave explorers in the world, and we might be in some ways, it's also easy to lose touch with bits of ourselves without realizing it. You know, even though it's been many years that I've been on my own personal development journey and helping other people on theirs, I still keep doing the work. You know, I keep discovering new parts of myself, or like in this case, rediscovering parts that were hidden for a while and needed to be reintegrated with the rest. But those discoveries and rediscoveries don't happen unless you're open to them. So even if you don't feel like you're in a rut right now, I encourage you to never let yourself believe that you're done, that you've got it all figured out now, but to keep looking for, returning to, and walking the path that feels right for the most authentic parts of you, and making sure that you have the right shoes for it, the right tools for the job. So I hope this served you in some way. And speaking of tools, if you did find this video helpful in some way, and if something has happened in your life that's thrown you for a loop or taken you off your path, then consider heading over to my website at jimyork.com/setback to grab my free Setback Survival Pack. It'll help you get your feet back under you. And if you'd like to explore getting more personal guidance from me as your personal development coach, then head over to jimyork.com/book to schedule a free consultation. So thanks for joining me, and I will look forward to seeing you next time.